Grand Rising. Thank you all for joining us for another Wednesday edition of the Female Solution Global Broadcast. I'm Naima Latif, and Happy New Year for those who we have not seen since last week. This is a year to create transformation. It's an opportunity for us to review where we've been and where we're going. This is a year of spiritual transformation. And today, our guest, an author, one who has traveled the road of spiritual evolution, brings us the story of his journey. He has been one who has explored the depths of religion, selected Islam as a path, and in that selection, gone through the process. And so now, today, he's going to share with us Blues of a Black Muslim, My Crisis of Faith by Abu Lofton Emenari. So we'll be right back. And we invite you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll bring you a story that you can perhaps relate to, and feel free to share your comments as you hear the true story of a man who has gone down a path, climbed the hill, received the light of understanding, and now wishes to share. We'll be right back in just one moment. Stay with us.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
We are the Female Solution. And as we share with you those individuals who have gone through life and wish to elevate our awareness, we're also giving a platform to many who are seeking, as we have said, we're deciding to do every day, and that is to raise global awareness. We are one family, and we are, in fact, going through a transformation on planet Earth. This is going to be a challenge because there's a lot of fear. A lot of fear-based teachings, a lot of fear-mongering among those who have pitted us against each other. And often we're pitted against each other as a result of our religious beliefs. The religion of Islam entered this country very early with the sailing of many Muslims, even before the coming of Columbus. But in recent times, Islam has brought a bit of fear. A brand of Islam that arose that was uniquely African American, frightened many whites because they became known as the Black Muslims. And they presented the image of hostility anger, and even perhaps the threat of violence from African Americans who had been eased into a docility under the Christian faith. A man arose, became known as Malcolm X, later Malik El-Shabazz, whose fiery words stirred in the hearts of many. And the organization, made known by the man who was known as Elijah Muhammad, grew under Malcolm. And then the tragic assassination and the series of assassinations had an impact on the hearts of many, even those who were not following the Islamic faith. And then there was the split. And there was the influence of the Islamic movements from the East. There's much confusion about exactly what Islam teaches. Do you teach white people are devils? Do you teach violence? Do you teach hate? And then, of course, the tragedy of 9/11 struck, and Islam was a religion to be feared in the minds of many who associated it with terrorism and fear and anger and a foreign philosophy that many saw as anti-Christ. So how does one find faith in that atmosphere? Our guest today, author, professional, one who has traveled, seen so much of our world, and been able to put to pen and paper his vision of what a relationship with the divine looks like and what a community looks like. And yet, how does one establish a relationship with the divine with so much confusion? We're going to take a quick break and come right back with our guest, Abu Lofton Emenari, after this. And we want you, write in your comments, call in. We're looking forward to a discussion. And we want you to think about what your faith journey will look like in 2026 as you evolve and you become that great mind that you are destined to be. We'll be right back after this quick break with our guest, Abu Lofton Emenari, and his Blues of a Black Muslim. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef in Kenya, Jambo in Israel, Shalom
in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. Yes, we do want to talk to you. And today we're talking to Abu Lofton Emenari. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Female Solution Global Broadcast.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Latif. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Yes, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which means, of course, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings. We like to greet our global family each show and remind people that we are one family speaking to the world. And the beauty of the internet is that it gives us an opportunity to meet those that we've learned to fear because of false beliefs and false disinformation. So now, as we take a look at this book, Blues of a Black Muslim. Now, I'm going to read a statement that you placed in the book, which caught my eye. And basically, it says, organized religion, in my humble opinion, has been nothing less than a poisonous virus infecting mankind. Now, obviously, that thought came about as a result of some pretty intense experiences. But first, tell us, what was your background in terms of your religious upbringing, and what brought you to the conclusion that Islam was the path that you wish to follow?
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This book came about, and I just turned 72 a couple of weeks ago. Through my many travels through this life, we've, of course, both of us have had friends leave and go on. And being a writer over the last 50 years, I wanted to kind of chronicle some of just a wee bit of some of the things that I've seen while in religion, so to speak. For instance, my family, I come from really a Christian background, which probably most of us come from. When I say most of us, I mean most Black folks in America these days come up in. However, I was exposed to Islam via the Nation of Islam at a very early age through my father, who wasn't a member. However, he was quite curious about the Nation of Islam. And so, what I wanted to do was talk about the many different sects of Islam that I saw, because there's a lot of sects in Islam, just as there are a lot of sects in Christianity. And that's what I've come to the conclusion, that organized religion has done more to harm people and confuse them than anything that I can imagine. I've met many atheists. I've met humanists who are totally against religion. But what I found is that Islam is perhaps the only path for me, and this is a personal journey, that puts me in direct line with the divine, with the spiritual. So I had to write about that because I've been in many, many, many camps over the years. And so that's what Blues of a Black Muslim basically boils down to. Thus, the subtitle, My Crisis of Faith.
Mm. One of the things that creates a crisis for many who are seeking is when they adopt a belief system that is different than the majority of the society or the rest of one's family. Now, of course, the fact that your father had connections to the nation and influence, as so many were in that during that era, that opened the door for you then to adopt a faith that would not cause you to be rejected by family.
Yes.
But how did the rest of your relatives respond to you once you expressed your decision to become Muslim?
Well, I'll tell you, they did not give me a lot of pushback, so to speak. They pretty much accepted my choices. Uh, for instance, my spouse, she always let me be on my own path. Uh, but I was very influential, and I don't I take a little pride in that, in my sister's decision to become a Muslim, and she became a devout Sunni Muslima, which she remains to this day. So I had a very small family, so I didn't have any real influence there. I was able to explore and search on my own with not a lot of pushback.
Mm. Recently, there was a conference held here in Chicago that gives us an opportunity to see how much Islam influences our society today. And there were many who attended from across the country.
Mhm.
Um, I guess what you would consider majority, more or less, Sunni or
Go
from
ahead and
those
say it. Go
from
ahead.
those groups that are from various countries that have immigrated here. So the growth of
Right.
Islam, and we
Yes.
report about in our daily news site, On Air Daily News, the growth of Islam has happened both internally from conversions and often influenced by the Nation of Islam and the various offshoots from that, which you talk about in your book.
Mhm.
And then it has grown from a large immigrant population. And anytime there's immigration, there is influence in the culture. And what we have experienced is an influence in the culture, which often it's Indian, Pakistani, sometimes Arab. Uh, there is an influence based on the fact that people are intermingling, you're doing business, uh, they're moving into neighborhoods, and then worshiping together. There's a lot of changes in much of what we have been culturally accustomed to in terms of practices. And then there's the reality that people across the world have been negatively affected
Mhm.
by propaganda when it comes to African Americans. So often, what we experience from those who immigrate from outside of our country is fear.
Yes.
Tell us how you encountered as you began to explore the various facets of Islam and other communities. Describe some of the perceptions that you encountered.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that you mentioned in your opening monologue was that Africans came here to the West, certainly before Columbus. However, we have an overriding structure in the world today called white supremacy. Under white supremacy, which affects everything in the world, because the Europeans basically run the world as it is today, basically. Uh, and that affects our religious systems. And you have different religions, Islam in particular, which is certainly affected by that. Um, and with a lot of these, even in Islam, which supposedly preaches that Islam is a one world religion. That means that there is no racism in Islam, which is far from the truth because we've had all kinds of different immigrant Muslims who come to the country who probably been here a long time, which will doubt a black man's Islam. For instance, I'll give you one example. I went to one of these, this was years ago, went to one of these big Islamic conventions that was run
Mhm.
by some immigrant Muslims. And I got in a conversation at a dinner table, and I heard one immigrant Muslim ask an African American uh, brother who was sitting at the table, as they introduced themselves, he asked him, which might seem a rather innocent question. He says, "Well, your name is Rashid. Do you know what that means?" Why would you ask that man what his name means?
Assumptions of ignorance.
Assumptions of ignorance. Believe me, I
Yes.
don't go around asking any Muslim what their name means, or do I know what their name means? Why
Right. Because
would
you
I do
assume they took the name because they know what it means.
They know what it means, certainly, but it seems as though, or they, I've had them, I've seen where some of them will tell you, well, you're not pronouncing the Arabic right, the Quranic Arabic right. When you're reading, they say, I'm no, believe me, I'm no Arabic scholar whatsoever.
Mm.
However, I've seen that happen. And then I've seen just the extreme where you might have African Americans who you go to a talim on a Sunday or a
Explain
Saturday.
what that is for those who don't know the term Talim.
I'm sorry. A talim is an instruction. It just
Right.
simply means a lecture.
Yes.
And they might go and the instructor might say, I'll use that term instead of using a lot of Islamic terms today.
Oh, it's okay. And we're teaching, so use the
Okay.
term and then just define it, and then
But
then they'll learn something.
they may speak for the first 15, 20, 30 minutes all in Arabic, and
Mm.
then turn around and explain what they were talking about. So you've
Yeah.
got those extremes as well.
Yes,
Uh,
I've visited mosques where they do that. Matter of fact, when I was visiting my sister in Boston and my daughter and I, we would visit a mosque where and it was multiracial, multicultural in terms of various countries represented there, and they would do the khutbah, the sermon, in Arabic first, and then they do portions of it, and then they do the translation in English, and then they go back and do the rest of it in Arabic, and then the translation in English. And I think that was to accommodate what was a multilingual, multicultural gathering. But it really it does speak to what you said earlier about this, supposedly being, non-racist, all-inclusive. And that's what attracted many African Americans who had just weary of racism, weary of the meanness that we experienced here, and just welcoming what looked like what humanity is supposed to be, and that is a unified body, regardless of color and ethnic and national origin. To see what looked like oneness, it was such a relief for those of us who were just tired of being treated badly because of our skin color and our origins in Africa.
Well, in the book, I quote the late Warif Deen Muhammad, and he said, racism is a false construct.
Absolutely.
Which I totally believe. However, it's been so ingrained in our culture for the last, I'd say, 400 years, perhaps even longer, that it has taken a hold of the psyche of just about the entirety of humanity.
Absolutely.
You look at a person and you suddenly assume that they are less than whatever they are. You look at another person, then you assume that they gotta be superior, or there's something about them, or something about their thinking, their living, or whatever. And those are one of the things that I've seen, let me say this: those are some of the constructs that I've realized, and that's why I adopted the religion of Islam. Now, with that said, there are some uh, portions or sects of Islam that are quite different from the others. That's another thing. Uh, Sometimes we say, "Hey, you got to get in where you fit in." So one of the groups of Islam that has attracted me more so is the Warith Deen school, so to speak, because they tend to be a little bit more quote unquote progressive. They're not really stuck in the Sunni, Wahhabi, Salafi schools of Islam. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to the Ahmadiyyas. However, and while I love the Ahmadiyya, and I first took my Shahada as an Ahmadiyya, I still found that there was levels of uh, peer levels of racism within the group, or ethnocide, so to speak. However, the Wallace Dean group, as being progressive, what I mean by that is you'll go to a mosque that's in a Wallace Dean camp, let's say, and the brothers and the sisters, while they don't sit together, they're separated, but only by a few inches. You can see them. Some mosques, you might never see each other. The sexes don't look at one another. They can't look at one another. They have all kind of rules for that. I understand. However, the Wallace Dean camp, uh, the sexes, while they don't freely integrate with one another, they're still there to see one another. And I think that's an important thing.
Yes.
Because
Well,
in that,
we're gonna take a quick
I
break.
say, huh?
And
You got to take a break?
we're gonna take a quick break. And when we come back,
Okay.
I want to delve into the whole difference in the way men and women behave culturally, and how that impacted those of us who sought to be parts of those communities, and the impact of the perception of women in other cultures
Hmm.
and how that affected our families
Yes.
and how it affected our children, trying to merge with cultures that had evolved in a way that for us felt like racism again.
Yes.
So we'll be right back. And we're going to talk about that elephant in the room for many who have practiced the faith and found pain in it.
Hmm.
How do we address that? We'll be right back after this quick break. We're talking to Abu Lofton Emenari, author of Blues of a Black Muslim. We'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay, don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment after this.
Have you ever felt called to start a nonprofit but had no idea where to begin? Or maybe you're already pouring your own time, energy, and money into a cause you care deeply about, but you know you could make a bigger impact with the right support. Imagine having a team behind you. Imagine being able to secure funding. Imagine scaling your mission so you can reach more people and change more lives. That's exactly what this training is designed to help you do. We've taken the entire process of launching a nonprofit and broken it down into 7 simple steps, including how to obtain your 501c3 status, how to use it effectively, and how to stay in compliance so your organization continues to thrive. You will walk away organized, confident, and most importantly, grant ready. Register now at 501c3startuptraining.eventbrite.com. That's 501c3 startuptraining.eventbrite.com.
Welcome to Masterforce with Mushim Soot. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
Yes, we are ascending. And as we ascend, we are examining the journey upward as we continue to explore the past journey and how we got where we are today. We're talking today with our guest, wonderful author of this book, Blues of a Black Muslim, My Crisis of Faith, Abu Lofton Emenari. And it's amazing that so many of us have some very similar experiences as American born converts to Islam, but we've also been through some experiences that make us not want to take any more mess from people. I'm going to read some portion, or this is what happened, and you describe an experience as a child traveling in the South. And I also had this experience as well, traveling with our parents to the South. But you say, on our trips, we packed sandwiches, water, and other food items to avoid stopping at truck stops and the most suspicious looking service stations. My father knew the route intimately, having gone back and forth for a decade. He also knew of safe havens, Negro-owned motels, and boarding houses where to stay just in case. There was no staying overnight at white motels. Plus, there weren't many that catered to Negroes. Jim Crow was still the unlettered law of the land, North or South. Whites only was an edible rule of thumb for most traveling. So you describe that experience, and because we have lived through, those of us of our generation, we were younger, but we've lived through the times where you saw the whites only, you saw the segregation. So anything that feels like segregation is going to be interpreted as denigration. Mm-hmm. And this is a major issue when we encounter a culture which says men and women need to be separate. Yeah. And women are often, in some cultures, pushed either back behind a curtain or a wall. And for those of us of African descent who have in any kind of way lived through that kind of degradation and separation and segregation, it feels like a slap in the face. So this was a major cultural thing that was difficult for those who adopted Islam. And even as you say, there was the separation of the sexes for the idea of, not intermingling and getting involved in unmarried intimate relations. The way things are done affects us because we've had a history of, this is you get the good water fountain, the white people, and you get the dirty old water fountain, the black people. You get the nice beautiful edifice and place to worship. You get the little corner that's raggedy. So when it's done based on male and female, for African American females who had that history, that really felt like, this is ugly. This is the same stuff we've been through. Right. That created conflict with us as women coming into that cultural practice. So tell us how, by that time you were married, correct?
By which time was this?
When you came into Islam and you began to intermingle with some of the international groups. Yes, you were married at that time.
Right. Let me say this as well. My follow-up to this book is going to be called Mo Blues for a Black Muslim.
Mo better, right? Mo Blues.
But I intend to, in that book, to tackle this very subject of male-female relationships, because Islam, as stated in the East, or with the immigrant Muslims, or even here in the West, is a male-dominated culture. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. The females don't even operate, that I know of. They may, in a lot of administrative jobs, running the mosques, social programs. They may do that in the let's say the Ahmadiyas, but they certainly do it with the Wallace Dean camp. So there is this ceiling of male domination, which is quite critical and really unfortunate, because it throws our society back culturally thousands of years. Okay, and there are a lot of different rules surrounding that. Also, on another note, Hollywood produced a sanitized version of going down south on those trips in the Green Book, if we will remember that movie that came out. I'm not really a moviegoer, but I did see that one. And but as I said, it was rather sanitized, but I lived it and my father told me about certain places, and there were certain places that we went. We went to a couple of all black motels along the way, stayed there. One route we took all the time down going down south was Route 41, which runs right through Chicago and goes all the way. My father's family was from Atlanta, so it goes all the way to Atlanta. I think it goes all the way down to Florida. Uh, but certainly, this is a critical question of the male-female relations in Islam. It has got to change.
Well, this is a thing, and when I read this book, I said, yeah, we got to bring the brother on because we got to talk about this. I mean, this is the thing that will determine whether or not the faith of Islam is able to transform the society in the way it was intended.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot treat part of humanity badly, whether it's based on skin color or gender.
Yes.
And exist in the world as it's evolving to that higher consciousness. As my sister says, we are evolving.
Mm-hmm.
We are ascending.
Yes.
And this is what is happening. So anything that is not of the roots of the Creator, which is oneness, we are all equal in our importance, in our divine expression, and anything that negates that will not exist in the ascended society that we're moving to. It cannot. So when you have cultures that are deeply ingrained in the denigration of the female,
mm-hmm.
and yet it's mingled with a spiritual teaching that your soul recognizes truth in, how do you resolve that? It's just like the things in Christianity that have been distorted and misused to justify racism.
That's right. That's right.
Being told that we're cursed, our skin color is a curse and all of that. And you have a lot of Black people who believe that.
Uh-huh.
And that affected their self-esteem. And yet if it said, well, it's in the Bible, all of that. And so people swallow that which they're told is in the religious teachings, even though it's abusive. So
I went to a funeral of one of my mother's brothers, and we went to the funeral home. This was in Indianapolis. We entered the funeral home, which was a Black-owned funeral home. Well, guess what? It was a big mural on the side of the wall in this funeral home of a white Jesus.
Now, which you have to know is historically incorrect, and yet that's the symbol that was given to us to make us, first of all, worship whiteness as the image of God. Well, we're the image of God. You all are cursed. So we have this psychosis in believing that a man from that area of the world was somehow white skinned, and that is, geographically incorrect.
Right.
But it was a brainwashing tool. And so when you see that in places, what does that tell you about the mentality of the people, or perhaps the indoctrination of the people, and how that could affect
both
their behavior?
We see it all the time. How about this? There's a neighbor that lives in my neighborhood who flies he has a big flagpole in the front of his house. On this flagpole, he has at the top a black Trump flag, right? And below that Trump flag, he has another flag. And guess what that flag says? Black Lives Matter.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
But there is a surprisingly sizable portion of Black people who were believing that the current president, Donald Trump, was the right choice. They say, oh, he's a businessman and he's going to boost the economy. And they believed that this was something in their best interest. So now we're experiencing all of the choices from this man who has a philosophy that and I won't say he hasn't done some good works, but if you don't listen to how a person speaks of other people,
Right.
then you don't recognize when they themselves have either racism or sexism or both inside of them as part of their indoctrination, and it's going to be expressed in their policies.
And now he's going after the Black Somalians of Minneapolis and Minnesota.
Yes. So that should tell us
who
something.
are Muslims.
Who are Muslims. So now we're going to take one last break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at how being Muslim could impact you politically, socially, on the jobs and that sort of thing, and how you have overcome or faced and dealt with discrimination based on your faith. So we'll be right back after this last break, and we invite you to stay with us.
What's up, guys? It's Asada, the host of the Gathering of the Griots podcast, part of the Female Solution. Want you to join us every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And guess what we do? We interview authors of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. The books, the experiences, the lifestyles, all of it with fervor. So be there right on the Soulful Chicago Book Fair YouTube page or on the Female Solution Facebook page. We look forward to having you and all our literary essence. Peace.
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
And we are back. You are watching the Female Solution Global broadcast, and we are so pleased to have with us the author of Blues of a Black Muslim, My Crisis of Faith, Abu Lofton Emenari. This is a book that you need to have, and we need to hook you up with the Soulful Chicago Book Fair coming up February 15th, because this is a book we want to share with those who may still be carrying some misconceptions about Muslims. Now, this is a portion that I'm going to just read from this portion here. And you mentioned, as you traveled, you said, I toured the so-called mixed ethnic mosques like the Ahmadiyas and Shia, which have a small percentage of Blacks, but are facilitated administratively by an immigrant minority Palestinian, Indian, Pakistani, Iraqi, and Iranian blocks. I was to visit the famous Al Sadiq Ahmadiyya Mosque located in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood. The mosque has a reputation for being involved in the Black neighborhood since the 20s. Invited by several friends, including Jasmine Yusuf Latif, I was comfortable enough to take my Shahada. After a few years of attendance and investigation, I found the ugly spectra of racism even in the confines of this mosque. Now, this is a thing, and of course, it's painful, but if we don't deal with the pain, we can't heal from the hurt. Because many of us were attracted to Islam to escape that feeling of denigration from other people. And so when we experience it, it is hurtful, and we know somehow this is not a reflection of the divine. And my husband and I, we met through the Ahmadiyya community, raised my daughter in the Ahmadiyya community, met many people worldwide, beautiful families, love my sisters and brothers. But one of the realities is that people have been conditioned to believe things about African Americans, and it is reflected in a response, an expectation, cultural differences and interactions. And this is the challenge anytime you have an international community. Everybody thinks their culture is right.
Yes.
And everybody thinks that everybody else is doing it wrong. Right. And everybody's been affected by the global propaganda on the television and movie screens. So if we can't talk about what we have experienced and what we feel, then we end up being fake with each other. And so this is why, I want to open up the conversation, because I've met very spiritual people through this community, and yet there is the reality of global racism. Mm-hmm. And how do you think this can be resolved? Is it something we can talk about? And is it possible to resolve anything as long as you silence the voices of women? What are your thoughts on that?
You hit it right on the head, and that's I had the opportunity over the last year to worship with a Shia community here in Chicago, and they're very open. The women are there with the men, and they facilitate and do everything. It's a beautiful community here, but they're very small, very small community here in Chicago. But that's one of the only ones. I just don't have any answers, and that's one of the things that I think I'm going to address in the next book, because I've noticed this as well. In Africa, in West Africa in particular, Islam is quite different as practiced in other parts of Africa, let's say Northern Africa or Eastern Africa. In Western Africa, it's a little bit more, I hate to use the word liberal, but it is. But then again, too, there's another thing that happens, and that's Islamophobia, which is a big weight, seems to sit on people's backs, on Muslims' backs as they go about their everyday. The case in point, I have on my telephone an Azan app, and I use it to what it does is it calls out the times of day for daily prayer. Mm-hmm. One time, I'm real mindful of not having it at my job, because one time it went off. I forgot to turn it off, and it went off, and there was an African Christian nurse who heard it, and when she heard it, it was like her whole body did this convulsion. Oh my God, that's Al Qaeda.
Well, and let me explain for those who don't know. First of all, we've talked about a couple of terms here. Taking your Shahada, which is a declaration of faith in which you're declaring there's no God but Allah, and
Right.
Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So you're declaring that this is what you believe, and you're going to follow the teachings as dictated in the Muslim holy book, the Holy Quran.
Yes.
So that's that. And then the call to prayer in Arabic, it basically says, God is great, God is great. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, there's no God but Allah. It's saying that in Arabic, and that is the sound of the call to prayer.
Right.
Now, all during the times, during 9/11, when they had various movies about Islam, the one Not Without My Daughter, where Sally Field, who, a very political decision to make her this woman whose Muslim husband treated her badly. Once he decided to practice his faith, he, stole her daughter and took her back to his country. And she was trying to get her daughter back to being kidnapped and all this oppression. They would always play that call to prayer in the background. So everybody else was associating that sound with terrorism. That was very deliberately done. And what the prayer call is saying, God is great. God is great.
Come to prayer.
Allah, that's what the call to prayer is. But it's said in Arabic. You don't know what the words mean. So in the Westerner's mind, that's that terrorist sound.
Yes.
So
yes.
This is what was done to people of the West who are not familiar with Islam and the teachings and the unity and all of that.
It's propaganda.
Propaganda. But it was very powerful propaganda. Now, there are some things that need to be addressed, and women have to have the courage, because nobody can oppress you without your consent.
That's right.
Ultimately. And women have to have the courage to, in their faith, recognize that there are some cultural things that are not godly. I posted on my Facebook page, and I'm always looking at near-death experiences, because I've been familiar. I've had one without dying, but that's another show, another day. But there's a Muslim woman who had a near-death experience, and in that she had an encounter with Jesus, and had a conversation in which she was told, because the idea and the modesty is that, well, you have to cover yourself because men can't control their lust, and it's your fault if they sin. And she was told, that's not your burden. That they were made with the power to control themselves, just like every human being has the power to define their own behavior, and it's not your burden to carry whether somebody else lusts after you. So that was a whole different mindset. And so I put it on my Facebook page, and at some point I might even try to get the sister on as a guest. But one of the things that women fear is repression with the coming of Islam. So in these last moments before we go, how do you see the issues of racism and sexism being resolved so that the spiritual aspect of the faith can actually do the healing work that it's possible to do in the hearts of people?
As you said, and your show addresses this, the female solution. These types of larger questions that we position ourselves in can only be implemented if we practice it. We have to practice these things. We have to practice the kind of positivity that ensures correct thinking. What is correct thinking? Whole nother subject. But we have to, this is one of the things that I wanted to bring out in this book. And please, if I could mention that the book is available on Amazon and in the Chicago area at Underground Books. So you can, Underground Books on East 87th Street. But it's available internationally, of course, on Amazon.com. But back to your question, it's going to be a struggle. In fact, that's one of the words that I end out with in the book. In struggle. This is the thing that we need to do together, is struggle not only to make the faith more appealing, but to make the faith more of a healing.
Yes. And it has such the power to heal. I mean, there is the real unity of mind, which is what oneness means. When we are a collective body and we are all expressions of the divine, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we truly have it in our hearts and we can truly see the God in every one of us, and we truly are treating each other as we wish to be treated, and we are truly appreciating all of us for all of our varied gifts, talents, and skills all over the world, then we will see manifest the heaven on earth that we have the power to create. And it's not a matter of what you call yourself. It's the evolution of your soul to the state where you truly do express and live in a state of oneness. And that is love for all, hatred for none.
Well stated.
That's our goal. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you.
Oh,
look out for it.
Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Praise be to God. Alhamdulillah. We appreciate all of you. And we thank you all for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Female Solution, like us on Facebook, and share this show. And we will see you tonight as we are joined with our hosts for some uncomfortable conversations. Join Wendy and Aaron tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. And until next time, may you continue to shine your light. We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jareh. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.